Hey everybody, welcome to Build Fly Go. Looks like I've got some fiberglass dust in my beard. Anyway, so as you're probably aware, we're working on the fuselage. You can see it propped up over here. The fuselage top, rather. It's the big fiberglass piece that's over here. And you'll notice that it is mostly trimmed to size. This was honestly not as big of a project as we expected. I think the biggest concern was the guideline, the instructions maybe were not as accurate as we usually see them. There are scribe lines, you'll notice on the book here, scribe lines that are marked on the plans, and unfortunately the scribe lines are way off. Fortunately, they're way off in the positive direction, which means you take more off, not that you have to add a bunch more material. But this is the top fit, I believe is 99% done at this point. We're gonna do the next fitting, the last fitting, I believe, and you'll see it in just a minute. But I wanted to do just a quick overview of the fiberglass. All right, so here we go. So the fiberglass top fits. So the main initial interference points that you're looking for are, you can see me here, are this edge, right? So we trimmed, this came all the way out to here, right? Like this continued down basically, and it went all the way down. So we trimmed all of that. And if you see, this is incredibly thin. It's sort of hard to tell here, but this went from being, you know, an inch plus to being, I don't know, a 16th, an eighth, almost nothing, right? So this is the big one, right? To make this fit in this fuselage slot, right? In the door slot, because this door slot is set. This is 37 inches. We measured it and it's exactly, so you got to keep trimming this until it fits. And there's a lot of like, take the fuselage off, put the fuselage back on kind of situation. The other one is here. So as you imagine, this was that thick all the way down. So you got to sort of shave it at an angle here to get this to not be pushing on this skin here. Now, of course, this doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like the same for here. This has to fit, but it doesn't have to be, let me zoom this out, it doesn't have to be perfect. And the reason is, this is fiberglass, right? So we're gonna use structural filler to fill in sort of this gap right here and on the bottom. So the structural filler is gonna take care of, you know, sturdying it all up. And we can use the same structural filler here to fill in sort of the imperfect, you know, angle of the cut that I made. You know, it takes like 20 different tries at this to get this to be roughly good enough. And, you know, and we're going to smooth this out as well, of course, with more fiberglass, you know, prettiness. You'll see back here as well. Let's take a look at the inside real quick. You'll see how this just doesn't sit on the longeron, right? If I push it out against the skin here. That's a big part of this as well, right? Because this was down another at least 3/4 of an inch, and you have to shave it down so that it is not touching the longeron. There's enough there, not touching the longeron, and yet giving a very tiny, I wanted this a 16th to an 8th, right? Like it's currently right now, I'm gonna call it a 16th to 3/32, which is really close to what I want. Same thing back here. This isn't correct. There we go. So the skin goes over here, and this butts right up to this bulkhead. You don't want it pushing on the bulkhead. You want it just shy of the bulkhead. So I made it a 16th shy of the bulkhead, so it's not pushing, but it could give it a little bit of structural rigidity if it needed to. So those are the big cuts. Then a cut that I haven't done yet is this one for the window. So the plans suggest 3/4 of an inch. I haven't done any research on what the real number should be here. My guess is it's going to be close to 3/4 of an inch, but I'm going to look into what other people have done and take it from there and then cut this. There's going to be another cut here for this, for the door. Similar situation. I'm not going to do this until I have the door, which comes with the finish kit. We don't have it yet. And also when I've done some research on, there's different options for how to seal the door. Like there's the McMaster setup where I believe you put the seal on the door or you put the seal on the frame. I don't know. Got to do that research. But yeah, so that's fiberglass here. This took us about a week of not working terribly hard. We came out 3 or 4 times, I don't know, maybe 6 hours of work on this fiberglass top. The tools that we used, I've gotten asked this a couple of times. So Van sends you a couple of these cutoff discs. Those actually cut reasonably okay. The issue I had was this little grinder I have, there's the model, does not have enough power. So it would blog up and stop cutting, right? Which is not great. Of course, wear a respirator you don't want to be breathing this stuff. It is really nasty. I did use a 4-foot ruler. I actually went out and bought a 4-foot ruler. I think my other ruler was a 3-footer over there. So I went out and bought a special 4-foot ruler. I also had an orbital sander. Random orbital sander, they use their little round things. And I used that in the beginning, and it was actually okay. It doesn't take very much off. Even with the 40 grit discs, it doesn't take very much off. What we discovered that when we needed to cut stuff off was, this is just a, big electric angle grinder. And these are metal grinding discs for metal. I bet they make one of these that is for fiberglass that will cut this much better, but this actually worked pretty darn good. I was told that these permagrit tools are invaluable. Yeah, I didn't actually use this too much. I did use, here we go, this permagrit one, which is, it's about 30 centimeters. Let's call that 11 inches. One side of it is coarse, the other side is fine, and that helped me make sure that my shavings, right, like down the sides and the bottom, were straight, right, because this is fairly long. They make an even longer one. They make an even longer one, and I think that would be too long. So I would suggest this one. They're not crazy expensive. I think this was like 30 or 40 bucks. Recommended. They also make these they're needle files. So I ordered a set of these because the needle files that I have a couple of different sets, and they're terrible, they're cheap, they fall apart. And these, I understand, are phenomenal. Same thing for this. I also got one of their permagrit cylindrical files. I believe this is the coarse. I think I also ordered the fine. Every so often you get a spot where you need to sort of round it off, right? There's a few of there on the inside and all that kind of stuff. And I recommend, it's a good idea to have that. I haven't used it too much yet, but I suspect it'll be worth it. Let's see, other couple little things here. Tape up the surfaces that you're going to be putting this on and taking this off. It will scuff up the surface pretty badly. We had packing tape on these, and we've done blue tape on the bottom, and you put it on and take it off a couple of times, so the tape is going to get all messed up. So peel the tape off, put new tape on. Tape is cheap, right? Like scuffing up your powder coat or your interior paint is more work than is worth the trouble. You'll notice that we still have not painted the interior. This is going to have to happen pretty darn quick. I actually need to make a final selection on interior color, call Blend Supply, and get them to make it. I'm pretty certain we're going to use Jet Flex again, which is it's an aviation interior, really sturdy paint for airplane interiors. It's a lot of times it's actually what you see inside airliners, like that is painting the plastics that you put your arms on and things like that. So it's pretty sturdy. It's what we used in the 9. But yeah, this is it. It's been pretty fun. Well, can't believe I said that. It's actually been pretty fun to see this come together, right? Like when I started, it was terrifying and it was a nightmare and it was more fiberglass. Turns out this isn't bad, right? Like the trick is don't be scared of this, right? Like you're going to take off a ton. Look at how thin that is. You're going to take off a ton of this material. And if you take off too much, it's not the end of the world. You're going to fill it with, back it all up with flux, structural fiberglass filler, and it's not going to be a big deal, right? Like there's going to be a ton of fiberglass work on the edges here to like clean it up. If Jonathan is watching this from Evoke Aviation / Paint Schemers, Plane Schemers, here's some work for you. Let's make this look pretty. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you want to see next.